Hydras Avengers. During Hydra's shady takeover of the US and Secret Empire, they decided, hey, why not make our own Avengers? So they threw together the most chaotic lineup ever. We got Taskmaster the Copycat, Black Ant, aka the backstabbing bug dude, Deadpool's superior octopus, a possessed Scarlet Witch, Vision controlled by an AI virus, and Odinson bribed with a Jane Foster rescue quest. Hydra basically said, you guys defended America, but also our evil plans too. Okay, thanks. Their first gig, monster slaying Kergrorath in Denver. Then it got real Hydra-ish. They hunted cosmic cube pieces, fought mutants, Inhumans, and even stormed Atlantis like it was a Fortnite POI. But then, plot twist, Hydra started losing. The Underground Resistance launched a DC Smackdown, and this makeshift Avenger squad went full messy breakup mode. Odinson finally remembered he's a hero, and dipped. Doctor Strange did a whole Expelliarmus thing and freed Wanda. Vision rebooted himself with help from his daughter Viv. Yes, he has a daughter. Comic books are wild. Taskmaster and Black Ant noped out once they realized they backed the wrong team, and Deadpool had a, wait, we're the baddies moment, and bailed too. So yeah, Hydra's Avengers were basically the Wish.com version of the real team. Half were brainwashed, the other half morally confused, and it all ended with everyone rage quitting once they realized Hydra was a toxic team leader. Ah, classic villain arc. Assyrian Avengers. In the wild alternate timeline of Earth 9105, the Assyrian Avengers weren't exactly Earth's mightiest heroes. They were more like Earth's most loyal enforcers, for a totalitarian ruler called the Sphinx who apparently hated mutants. Think ancient empire vibes, Avengers style, but with no chill and lots of blood on their hands. Operating out of the Avengers Mansion, which is still iconic even in dystopias, they had a butler named Jamal, which is this guy in the back here. The tradition lives on, but don't expect tea and witty banter. These Avengers were cold, brutal, and deeply loyal to their ruler. Horus, for example, straight up murdered Logan without hesitation. Zero hesitation, not even a dramatic pause. But every villain squad had its rebel, and here it was Nova, who saw the red flags, probably literally, and defected to fight for the Mutant Liberation Front. That's right, Nova dipped and joined the resistance. Things got multiverse level chaotic when the Timekeepers decided, let's mix things up, and summoned these ruthless Avengers to brawl against Rick Jones's heroic Alt Avengers using the Forever Crystal, which is basically a cosmic cheat code. In the end, Captain America destroyed the Forever Crystal, yeeting the Assyrian Avengers back into their own reality. These Avengers were more boss-level NPCs than heroes, but still a fascinating look at what happens when power meets loyalty and morality takes a nap. Dark Ultimates. In a desperate play to save the multiverse, a mysterious woman calling herself Kang, yes, that Kang, but more fabulous, assembled a team of morally ambiguous heavy hitters, Bruce Banner, Quicksilver, and the Maker, aka Reed Richards, but evil and stretchier than ever. Their mission? Retrieve the Infinity Gems, because apparently the end of everything is best stopped by people who cause most of it. Kang kicked things off by busting Banner out of a lockup. Hulk did what Hulk does, leveled the Triskelion, stomped S.H.I.E.L.D., and collected 5 of the gems like it was an Avengers-themed Easter egg hunt. Meanwhile, Kang released the Maker, who began executing his twisted utopia plan, tearing down capitalism, ending copyright, giving away Tony Stark's toys, and turning Earth into a libertarian fever dream with sentient seeds. Captain America faced off against Richards, got flattened, and was left behind like last season's armor. Reed stole the 7th gem, hidden in Tony Stark's brain, and Stark was lobotomized while Reed sent drones to the Earth's core for the last gem. Despite having his mind dissected, Tony's consciousness survived, downloaded himself like a particularly sassy USB stick, and saved the Ultimates from the negative zone. Meanwhile, a brainwashed Human Torch helped Reed retrieve the final gem. Just when things couldn't get more chaotic, Kang returned to assist Reed, only to realize she was too late. Time unrivaled, reality trembled, and she vanished with a, well, guess I'll try again earlier. The Infinity Gems were lost to the time stream. Reed was left holding the bag and locked in the cube while the rest of the Dark Ultimates scattered like infinity-powered cockroaches. Mission not accomplished. Age of X Avengers. In the Age of X reality, where mutant kind was basically enemy number 1, the Avengers weren't your friendly neighborhood heroes. Nope, they were a squad of mutant-hunting non-mutants led by General Frank Castle. Yes, the Punisher went full government ops. Think a reverse X-Men, but way more unhinged and morally gray. Their first mission? Suppress a mutant riot at Camp Gorge in the Grand Canyon. Sounds simple, but spoiler alert, it went terribly. Thanks to Chamber going full power mode and melting Ghost Rider, plus some team drama involving Invisible Woman who got caught in a guilt spiral for selling out her mutant-protecting fam, the mission collapsed faster than your Wi-Fi during a Zoom call. Then came their last mission, assaulting Fortress X, where Magneto had relocated 22 buildings like mutant Tetris. The goal? Find and arrest. The reality? Full-on genocide. To track the fortress, they enslaved a tortured mutant tracker, Weapon S, who tragically got Hulk smashed before he could finish his job. Oof. Infiltration went sideways when Castillo sensed the Invisible Woman's sneakiness, while Cap used non-lethal means, bless him. Steel Corpse, aka Iron Man, and Redback, which is this universe's version of Spider-Woman, went full Mortal Kombat. Then Cap accidentally shot Mystique, who was just protecting kids, and that cracked him. He rage quit the mission and told Castle, we're done. Castle's response? Nuke them all. Literally. He launched the Hulk with a 2-megaton chemical bomb. Cap, Redback, and Sue Storm tried to stop it. Redback ended up severing Hulk's arm, and the Force Warriors' mutant telekinetics contained the blast. Cap and the rest of the Avengers died as heroes, finally switching sides. Legacy absorbed his memories as a final salute, making sure someone remembered that even in a broken world, people can change. Basically, the Avengers went from mutant hunters to mutant defenders, but only after a whole lot of trauma, betrayal, and one very bad day. Onslaught's Avengers. Onslaught Reborn picks up where 1996 brain-melting Onslaught saga left off, because if there's one thing Marvel can't resist, it's resurrecting psychic nightmares wrapped in spandex. In this reality, the psionic terror Onslaught returns with one target in mind, Franklin Richards, the boy god who once banished him and created a whole backup Earth. Franklin escapes to counter Earth, a world he cobbled together from childhood memories and action figure logic. There he finds the Avengers reimagined and rebooted, a noble Captain America, a still rich Iron Man, a thunder-swinging Thor, and Hawkeye who turns out to be Wolverine in Archer cosplay. Skeptical at first, the Counter-Earth Avengers quickly realize Franklin's not just a reality-hopping fanboy. Onslaught begins infecting their ranks, first mentally, then physically. Possessed Thor becomes a hammer-wielding horror. The Hulk, already unstable, becomes Onslaught's ultimate puppet. Suddenly, the Avengers are fighting themselves as much as the villain. Enter Riki Barnes, the Dimension's plucky Bucky stand-in. In a classic Marvel moment of heartbreaking heroism, Riki sacrifices herself to trap Onslaught in the negative zone, saving 2 Earths and proving that you don't need to be a Prime Universe hero to be legendary. Onslaught Reborn brings back the psychic boogeyman and gives the Avengers, even the alternate ones, a shot at redemption. Queen's Vengeance. Basically, Avengers gone medieval. Just when the Avengers thought returning from Counter-Earth meant a break, they got hit with something worse than jet lag. Morgan Le Fay. The sorceress ambushed Earth's mightiest heroes with a reality distortion wave, flipping the modern world into a full-blown medieval fantasy. Suddenly, tights become armor, jets were horses, and quips got replaced with thee and thou. Under Morgan's enchantment, the Avengers became her elite enforcers, the Queen's Vengeance. Everyone except Scarlet Witch, that is. Immune to Morgan's magic and locked in a dungeon for being inconveniently powerful, Wanda reached out with her chaos magic, nudging Captain America back to reality. Steve then did what he does best, started a revolution. With help from Hawkeye, who then brought in Wasp and Photon, they began waking up the others. Cap tried to snap Iron Man out of it, but Tony was too busy LARPing in plate armor. A confrontation with the full enchanted Avengers followed, and only Quasar and Justice managed to break free until Morgan Le Fay crashed the party. Enter Thor smashing through spells and illusions alike, because that's kinda his thing. Meanwhile, Scarlet Witch pulled off a magical miracle and resurrected Wonder Man, who turned the tide of the battle. Even Vision's body was destroyed, but don't worry, he got better. With the awakened Avengers' collective willpower, Scarlet Witch supercharged Wonder Man, restoring reality and banishing Morgan. Moral of the story, never trust a queen with a wave that rewrites your wardrobe. Vampire Avengers. On Earth 3931, things took a sharp turn for the Gothic when Captain America got a taste for blood. Turned by Baron Blood, Captain sank his patriotic teeth into his fellow Avengers, transforming Falcon, Giant Man, Wasp, Hawkeye, and Polaris into a bloodthirsty super coven with a world domination plan and a serious vitamin D deficiency. Enter the Exiles, the multiverse cleanup crew who arrived just in time to stop these Undead Avengers from completing a spell that would let them walk in the sunlight without bursting into flames. A major perk if you're trying to conquer the Earth and still enjoy picnics. The team's mission climaxed with a brutal battle against the Vampire King Union Jack, who turned out to be the real Fang behind the throne. After Stake of the King and disrupting the spell, the Exiles brought the cursed timeline back from the brink, sparing that Earth from becoming a permanent midnight buffet. Lesson learned, never trust a cap with fangs. Dark Avengers. After the Skrulls invaded Earth, Norman Osborn became the unlikeliest global hero by publicly taking out the Skrull Queen. Riding that wave of fame like a wannabe Tony Stark on a PR high, he shut down S.H.I.E.L.D. and created Hammer, putting himself in charge of all things superhero related. Then he assembled a new Avengers team, mostly made up of literal criminals wearing hand-me-down costumes. Welcome to the Dark Avengers, where villains got glow-ups. Bullseye becomes Hawkeye, but with more stabbing. Moonstone took up the mantle as Miss Marvel, and Venom pretended to be Spider-Man. Osborn also roped in the unstable powerhouse Sentry, the battle-hardened god Ares, his mutant assassin Daken, rocking the dad Wolverine's name, and Novar as Captain Marvel. Osborn completed the cosplay as the red, white, and blue Iron Patriot, blending Iron Man's tech and Cap's aesthetics with zero of their morals. They made headlines fighting Morgan Le Fay and time-traveling with Doctor Doom, but things got messier back home. When San Francisco exploded in chaos, the Atlantean terrorists to the mutant rights drama of Proposition X, Osborn saw a golden opportunity. He sent the Avengers to control the scene and even formed his own twisted version of the X-Men, led by Emma Frost and featuring Namor and Daken. Plot twist, Frost and Namor were double agents. When the conflict moved to Utopia, Cyclops' island sanctuary, Osborn unleashed his Avengers. But the mutants held strong. Emma mind-zapped the Sentry out of the fight, and Osborn was forced to slink away while spinning it like a political win. But Osborn's final act came in the Siege of Asgard. Manipulated by Loki, Osborn launched an all-out assault on the mystical city under the pretense of national security. He sent in the full force of Hammer, the Dark Avengers, and even convinced Ares to draft battle plans. When Ares realized he'd been played, he turned on Osborn, only to be viciously torn apart by the now fully unhinged Sentry. The real Avengers, led by Steve Rogers, assembled one last time alongside the Young Avengers, Secret Warriors, and Iron Man to stop the madness. With Loki dead, Asgard in ruins, and the Sentry finally taken down by Thor, Osborn's reign came to a brutal, fiery end. The Dark Avengers were arrested, Osborn exposed, and the world left reeling from the wreckage of his dark reign. Honestly, it was like The Boys meets House of Cards, but with capes. New Dark Avengers. When Norman Osborn got out of prison because Marvel security is apparently made of wet cardboard, he wasted no time rebranding evil. Backed by Hydra, AIM, and the Hand, basically a who's who of bad idea, he reformed Hammer and built a new Dark Avengers squad. This bootleg lineup included a spider god named IPAC, pretending to be Spider-Man, Trickshot as Hawkeye's evil twin, Toxic Doxy cosplaying Scarlet Witch with attitude, Superia as a militant Miss Marvel, Gorgon as Wolverine, and Scar, son of Hulk, here for the daddy issues. Their debut? Miami. Because why not start your villain PR tour with Sun and Humidity? While Victoria Hand delayed the real Avengers, Osborn's crew took over. The new Avengers arrived late and immediately got thrashed, especially after Ragnarok, a deranged Thor clone dropped in and nearly ended them all with one hammer swing. Later, when Osborn literally seized Avengers Mansion, the good guys became fugitives. But plot twist, Scar turned on Osborn, flipping from mole to mole smacker. Things only got weirder when Dark Earth, an alternate dystopia where heroes are warlords, the team got kidnapped, experimented on, shrunk, mind-controlled, surgically enhanced, and Mjolnir empowered. Dox even stepped on mini AI APAC. Ouch. By the end, the world imploded, Scar pieced out, and the US agent was leading the team, though Doxy was secretly puppeteering them. You can see it here, by the way. There's some glowing red thing around his head. The Dark Avengers fizzled out, but honestly, they went out as they lived. Chaotically, violently, and incredibly on brand. Young Masters. Born from an art project, because why not start a team of morally confused teenage supervillains that way? The Young Masters were first assembled by the eccentric Coat of Arms, who viewed superheroics as a kind of performance piece. Their messy mix of personalities quickly made it clear this wasn't your average internship in heroism. While Melter genuinely wanted to be a hero, his team included an unhinged lineup. Executioner brought a Punisher-like Triggerfinger, Big Zero was a violent racist, Egghead a psychopathic hedonist, and Coat of Arms herself had questionable ethics at best. Only Enchantress offered any real moral support, and she was secretly connected to Loki. Never a good sign. During Dark Reign, they tried calling themselves the Young Avengers. That worked about as well as you'd expect until the real Young Avengers stepped in. After some interviews, only Coat of Arms and Enchantress were invited in. That didn't last. Wiccan ousted Enchantress's links to Loki, and she was quickly booted. The group then slid into villain territory, seeking backing from Norman Osborn because, of course they did. After a clash with the Dark Avengers, a magical tag team banished Sentry and the group ghosted out, thanks literally to Enchantress. Post-Siege, things fell apart. Melter vanished, Enchantress weakened after Loki's death, and the rest were absorbed into Briggs Chemical LLC, a shady corporate venture with villainous undertones. Still not ready to retire, Executioner and Egghead recruited new Chaos agents like Mako, Black Knight, and Radioactive Kid, staging murder attempts and secret missions from a repurposed Hydra base. Their greatest feat? Probably not dying during a botched hit on Dr. Octopus. Eventually, they washed up in Bagalia, the supervillain utopia, where they now live under Constructor's not-so-watchful eye, doing odd jobs and playing in the snake pit. Kinda like college, but with more attempted assassinations. The Gatherers. The Gatherers were basically the Avengers' emo multiverse, doppelgangers, traumatized, desperate, and mad at the wrong person. Each member came from a different alternate reality. The last survivor after their worlds were obliterated. Tragic, right? But instead of grief counseling, they got Proctor, a manipulative villain with a serious Cersei grudge and a dramatic flair for revenge. Proctor convinced them that their realities were destroyed because of their Ceres, immensely powerful Eternals who apparently had breakdowns and nuked their worlds. So naturally, he pointed them to Earth 616 Cersei, calling her the prime source of all the destruction. He gave them one mission: kill your 616 counterpart, which is called Gathering, before your body melts down into cosmic soup. No pressure. The twist? Proctor lied. He caused the madness in each Cersei by mentally manipulating her until she lost it and killed him. So while the Gatherers thought they were avenging their worlds, they were really just cleaning up Proctor's mess. In the end, the Gatherers were victims of a lie, haunted by their past, weaponized by a manipulator, and pushed into a fight they didn't fully understand. Kinda like if the Avengers went through a dark multiverse revenge tour with a side of existential crisis. Superior Avengers. In one world under Doom, Earth's not-so-friendly neighborhood dictator, Dr. Doom, rules as both global monarch and sorcerer supreme because one title's never enough for Victor. To validate his iron-fisted reign, his adopted son, Christoph Bernard, assembles a gleaming team of heroes to show the world how superior life is under Doom's thumb. Enter the Superior Avengers, a cadre of reimagined villains from far future timelines where Doom's will is law and resistance is inconvenient. The roster, a who's who of menace. A regal killmonger with diplomacy immunity and a vibranium broadsword, a psionically upgraded Dr. Octopus, a techno-ghost hybrid ghost, a magically enhanced smug-as-ever Malekith, the Chaos Engine Onslaught, and a disturbingly accurate Abomination in the Doom-emblazoned uniform. Their first PR stunt mission has them obliterate an annihilist invasion in Washington, D.C., and compete with triumphant poses and press-ready quips. The world watches, Doom beams, but under the armor and illusion, cracks form. Each Superior Avenger has plans. Some want more power, others want out, and at least one is probably plotting to stab Kristoff in the back with a smile and a monologue. Superior Avengers is equal parts dystopian epic and a moral Rorschach test. Avengers of the Cancerverse, aka the Revengers. The Revengers were basically the Avengers if you fed them an eldritch horror cult. Corrupted by Lord Mar-Vell and now simping for the many-angled ones, these guys were out to spread their cursed cancerverse across the multiverse. When a T-bomb blew open a portal to Earth 616, Mar-Vell and his Revengers started a full-on invasion. But plot twist, he killed Thanos, forgetting Thanos was Death's emotional support warlord. That let Earth 616 Death slide into the cancerverse and nuke everyone. But Death in the cancerverse is like deleting TikTok, never really sticks. The Revengers spawned and tried to use Star-Lord's Cosmic Cube to re-invade, but Thanos said nah and snatched it. Ryder turned himself into a portal to send the squad home, then got spawn-camped by the Revengers until he rage-quit the Nova Force to escape. Later, the Void disguised as the Sentry led them into the negative zone, but Nova still said, "Not today, Satan," and dipped again. I guess you could say this Avengers is pretty cancer. Avengers of the Undead. Straight out of the darkest corner of the Marvel multiverse, the Avengers of the Undead hailed from Earth 666, where horror tropes are very normal to say the least. Ruled by an undead celestial because even space gods need a goth phase, this nightmarish reality reimagines Earth's mightiest heroes as monstrous legends. There's Capwolf, a Lupin Patriot with fangs and fury, Frankencastle, the stitched-up Punisher with bolts, biceps, and no chill, a vampire Wolverine with extra bite, Mummy Thor, who swings the cryptic hammer Rinolum with sandy rage, demonic Daredevil, a literal hellspawn with no fear and even less mercy, plus grotesque arachnid versions of Spider-Man and Black Widow, who probably haunt Peter Parker's nightmares. Leading this haunted house of heroes, none other than Brother Voodoo, a mystical glue barely keeping their thirst in undeath in check. When Captain Britain and Hawkeye crash the party to retrieve the Orb of Necromancy, things go full horror show. The orb could shut down the synthetic descendants back on Earth 616, but on Earth 666, it's a multiverse plague bomb. The Undead Avengers wanted to spread their cursed brand of justice everywhere. Thanks to Hawkeye's anti-ghoul trick arrows, a little tactical genius, and Beast's last-minute science-flavored intervention, the 616 crew escapes with the orb intact. I guess even in a dimension crawling with monsters, the Avengers still assemble, just with more claws, curses, and cobwebs. And that's a wrap! From brainwashed knights to undead patriots, every evil version of the Avengers have left their mark on the multiverse, and occasionally a smoldering crater or two. Did your favorite dark reflection of Earth's Mightiest make the list? Or is there a shadowy squad we missed that deserves a spotlight in the Hall of Infamy? Drop your takes in the comments. If you enjoyed this descent into Avengers Gone Bad, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more Marvel multiverse breakdowns, villainous variants, and deep dives into what would make Kang say, "Wait, what timeline is this?" Until next time, stay heroic, or at least anti-heroic.